Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our BEAD office hours during the challenge phase. I want to thank everyone for attending. We will start in just a minute. Going to give it a minute more for a few more people to come in. I think we can go ahead and start. Just want to make sure that we're going to go through some housekeeping first, and then we will move into our process. So we're going to do welcome and housekeeping, go through a question and answer period. We'll take up the majority of the time, and then we will discuss next steps and some reminders. Next slide, please. So if there's anyone out there who's new to Zoom, this slide talks briefly about how we're going to do it. We're going to ask people to put their questions in chat and keep yourself on mute. And then once we start answering questions, we will take people can go off mute if the question isn't captured correctly. We are going to ask people to pose questions one at a time, so make sure everyone gets one question in, and then we can come back to do follow-up questions if people have follow-up questions. And just as a reminder, if you keep yourself on mute, and when we get your question, if you want to turn your video on, you can feel free to do that. So the purpose of today's session is an opportunity to ask questions about the challenge process and the BEAD program in general. Keep in mind that we may not have all the answers today. I can assure you we don't, as the BEAD program is developing constantly and is dependent on a number of factors. We are recording this session. We will take down the questions and provide answers through our FAQ page on our website. The CPUC is required to follow the rules of the NTIA as we administer the BEAD program. So you may hear us say several times today that this is what NTIA requires. Questions and answers from this meeting will later be posted on our FAQ on our website, and we will also post a recording of this session. Next slide, please. I think we're now ready to begin the question and answer period. I'm going to ask Laura if she can change it to a view where we can see everyone. And if people can put their questions in the chat, which is in the middle of the screen, we're happy to start answering questions. And if your question's super long, you could just abbreviate it and let us know that you'd like us to open the mic so you can ask the question in full. Okay, so our first question is from Natalie Gonzalez. And the question is, regarding evidence, many of the providers in my region have listed a call for service sign. Are call logs permissible, or is there a template the CPC would like to see in regards when community calls to a provider to request if service is available? Hi, Natalie. I'm going to see if my colleagues at CTC, Amy or Phil, can answer that question.
I think Phil is on as well. But I think what we'd like to see, and Phil, please add to the information, is a snapshot of the website along with the call log so that we can see why both are included. There should be some listing on the, hopefully you might need to take a screenshot of two different sections of the screen so that you can show the address as well as the additional information that comes from either the call or a follow-on screen of whether service is available. Does that, hopefully that makes sense, Jonathan and Natalie.
A little, just to follow up. Are you saying also in addition to the screenshot of the website, a screenshot of the phone call itself? Or
no, a call log of the just, you know, of the results of the conversation makes that support, you know, that supports what you are indicating. That would be fine. But again, it's the both pieces, understanding what the address is and the associated service level that's available at that address are needed in order to make a determination.
I'm sorry, just to back up for a second, I got ahead of myself. So we
Sorry,
have
John.
with us today, no, my fault. I forgot to do introductions. So CTC is our technical consultant partner. They're helping us administer the challenge process. And with us today, we have Amy Meacham and Phil Luck. And we also, Ready.net is providing the platform that we're all using to track challenges. And Clay Woolley is there from Ready.net. So I just want to make sure that you all were aware that these people who are answering the questions are associated with the CPC, and we're all working together in the administration of the program. The next question we have is from Jessica. The July 2024 version of the resource guide linked in the July 8th notice email outlines requirements for planned service challenges. This section, page 38, does not include that BSLs are part of the information evidence that must be provided. And however, in evidence and documentation requirements, page 23, it states that supporting evidence is typically a PDF that shows source, BSL, and date and time. Will providers challenging based on planned service be required to identify BSLs as part of the evidence provided? And if so, is there a specific format or a document you're expecting them to use? And I commend you, Jessica, for reading the manual. It's no offense to our colleagues at CTC, but it's long to get through and ready. So I'm going to ask, I think, Phil, can you handle that one?
Yes, if you could bear with me just for 1 second. I'm having some connectivity issues here today. My apologies.
I might be able to assist with answering this one for planned service. We do require the BSLs as part of the platform, and it is part of the challenge flow. So as you are going in and you are looking to challenge based on planned service or existing service, you do select BSLs and the location ID for those BSLs along with supporting details in the portal. And the location ID can be exported from the portal, just location ID. So from a workflow standpoint, that is how that challenge works. And then Phil, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, that was great, Clay. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And thanks for the props, Jonathan. You good people put the guides together, so it's worth our time to go through them and make sure we understand them. And Clay, if I just may ask to clarify, so you're saying like when I go in and actually select the locations that I'm trying to challenge, that's when the BSL will be populated. It's not going to be required as part of like the evidentiary documentation that I have to upload in support of that challenge.
Right. So there's additional documentation that goes along with that, and that's in the challenge guide as well as in the portal guidance. But when you go in, you actually select the challenge category first, and then you select the challenge type. And then from there, it will ask you to select the locations that you are challenging. And there's guidance in the user guide as well as in the portal itself, which will help with the evidentiary requirement for each type. And so I think locations are inherent to the workflow. So your evidence will go along with those locations. So whatever evidence you would submit for a planned build.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next question is from Ray. And he's asking, he wants to make sure I was looking in the correct place. I checked the Federal Communications broadband map and did not see any area in my city in yellow. It was all green, so I believe my city is not eligible for funding. And I think to take a step back, I'll let CTC weigh in just a minute, but the map you want to be looking at is the challenge map that's on our website and not the FCC's map. While the two maps share some data that's similar, the data is not consistent between the two maps. The FCC map, NTI used the FCC map as a basis to develop their map, and then we did additional pre-challenge modifications to that map to come up with the challenge map. There's a link in the chat.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. Where would I find the map? Because we're basically in the infant stages of seeing if we even would need to challenge. I don't believe we're going to have any funding available. But before I ruled that out, I just wanted to double check. Sure. I started with the location I previously mentioned, but I'm on your website now. Where would I find that map to plug in our address?
If you go to the BEAD challenge process, but there's actually a link in the chat here. And you can
Oh,
just
okay,
click
great.
on that link and it'll take you right to the challenge map.
Hold on one sec. In the chat, let me see.
The link in the chat is where you can you'd actually view it as a non-challenger. If you do want to submit challenges, you will need to register, and then you'll have the same version of the map, but you'll have additional functionality that will enable you to submit challenges on behalf.
Okay, and I just clicked on that link. Do I, it says funding programs, broadband technology, internet service provider. That's correct? Okay, and I'm putting my address in which one?
So there should be a map tab. If you click on the map tab, you'll see a map will come up with the state of California.
Yep, I see to the right a map of California.
Clay, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, maybe we can have Clay walk you through it. That might be.
I just want to rule this out, you know.
Sure, I
probably,
understand.
I don't even think we have any challenge because I think we have the level of connectivity that's not going to require the funding. But before I report to council that we are not eligible, I want to make sure and do our due diligence. Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Wonderful. Yeah, so we do have two search bars
Okay.
for functionality. So the top search bar is where you can put, a city, a county, different things like that.
I can put the address in, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the second search bar, it's a good thing for everyone to know, that is where you can search by location ID, which is primarily how we're sharing and exchanging information. So the location ID one is there, but also the address for general use.
Okay. And then the same philosophy applies, the green, yellow.
Yes. So when you zoom in a bit on the maps, so the yellow, you can see the census blocks, and then you can see the different BSLs. So over here, if you're looking specifically for anchors, you would filter this on to just look for anchors. If you're looking for BSL status, you can check in and just look at served. You can check in and just, look for underserved or funded. So you can see here's a group of funded BSLs over here.
Okay, so if it's funded, then that would mean that it would be funded by this program.
No.
Oh.
So if it's funded here, that means that it is actually funded by another program. So those locations are not eligible for BEAD today because they have been funded by another federal or state program.
And Clay, if I could just add a little bit to this, Ray, if you haven't yet, it might be really helpful to take a look at some of the past recordings, slide decks and stuff that we have that talks about the BEAD program, how eligibility works, what types of challenges are available and why they're available.
Sure.
And I'll put the link to that. It's a very long link.
Yeah, and I don't plan to challenge. I'm just trying to start at the basics because I don't believe we have a challenge. I'm just trying to get the basic to see if there's any funding available, which I don't believe there is based on our location. And putting it in now, I don't see any available. So
yeah, I think there might be I think we might want to have a little bit longer conversation kind of about that. But
sure. Who would I contact? I've already reached out to BEAD. They said they would call me. I haven't received a call. We're city of Gardena, so it's pretty easy as far as address wise. All I'm looking for is a direct contact to go through the motions, see, and then probably take 10, 15 minutes, walk me through it, and we're good. Yeah,
so being here today is great.
Sure.
We have some limitations. Again, this is for public transparency and NTIA's requirements.
100%.
We can't do that. We're not right now allowed to do those one-to-one consultations, which sounds really weird, but that's why we're here today.
Sure.
And so I think part of it is understanding and CTC and Reddy, you can step in here, but also understanding what it means when we say we want to challenge. There's a number of different types of challenges depending on what you're seeing at a variety of locations. So if you put in the city, you're going to see everything in your area. If you zoom in on that, you'll see those dots on the maps based on what they're categorized for as we go into the challenge process. So I don't know, Amy, Clay, Phil, if there's anything that you want to add to that, just to kind of clarify what it means when we say challenge.
Sure. Yeah, so there in the challenge guides, you'll find guidance to the different types of challenge that are allowable, as well as instructions. That information can also be found in California's initial proposal, Volume 1. So there are some different sources to look at those challenges and allowable evidence. There's a bunch of different types. Locations can go from underserved or unserved to served, or from those two to funded. They can also go from served to underserved or unserved. And so it sounds like what you're looking at is confirming that, in fact, your locations are served or funded. And so you would want to look at your area of the map, confirm that that is actually correct. So what's being reported is true. And if it's inaccurate, then you would want to submit a challenge. So that way your addresses would become eligible for funding.
Yeah, there's a handful that say unserved.
Yeah, so those, as of today and before the challenge process, those are indeed eligible for BEAD funding.
Okay. Hopefully they call me back. But I appreciate you taking the time, the office hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next question is from Patrick. And the CPC map correctly identifies our libraries as community anchor institutions, but some are identified as served and ineligible despite not having providers listed at the location. When we search these addresses in the FCC fabric, the map states the location is not a broadband serviceable and would not subscribe to mass market service. What steps do we need to take to ensure CAIs are correctly identified in the CPC map as unserved and eligible when they have no providers? Do we need the FCC to designate the location mass market serviceable? Could I ask Amy, if your internet is back, if you can respond to this question?
Yes, great question, indeed. And you're absolutely correct. If it's marked on the FCC map as a location that does not subscribe to a mass market service, the best approach that I would suggest is that you put in and Clay, please correct me if I'm wrong, put in a Q-type challenge, which is either to say that qualifying broadband is available, and then you would provide evidence based on the service provider that you are using and the level of service that is being provided to your library location. That would be probably the easiest way to prove that you do have service at the location. Clay, would you like to add anything else to that?
No, I think you answered it correctly, and I'd also encourage you to read the guidance specifically about the differences between CAIs, BSLs, and where they might overlap. It's a complicated topic in the challenge process because not all CAIs are BSLs. So that may be why you're seeing some mismatch between the classification and the eligibility. So we have released additional guidance that's in the challenge guide. Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that's in the latest release. Okay, it is.
It is.
So it addresses that exact topic. But as far as Phil addressing your question, I think I believe that he answered that fully. Thank you, Phil.
Appreciate you taking the question and carving out this time to support with questions in this process. So to be clear, I don't work at the libraries. I'm not, I don't know what level of service they have there, but I do know that libraries are CAIs. And so I guess I'm trying to understand, so I need to go through a process with the FCC, even though we know that all libraries are CAIs?
No, it is very complicated. Clay, did you want to answer that? And I can add on to it afterwards.
Yeah. No, I was going to say you can go through a process with the FCC. That is one of the avenues to get the location recognized as a CAI. But we also have built into this challenge process the ability. It's a subtype of a queue challenge where if the library that you're looking at does not show up as a CAI, you can actually add that location to the map. You can click on. In fact, I may be able to demonstrate it. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick because it might help to have a visual. At least it does.
Maybe just, I think that'd be super helpful. To be clear, the CPUC does designate it as a CAI. So the
Okay.
location I'm looking at specifically is 5606 San Pablo Avenue, the Golden Gate Library branch it's in Oakland. It says it's in Emeryville. I don't know why the CPUC, it's in the Oakland side of that street, but that's, neither here nor there. But
Yeah.
if you go to it, you'll see that it's labeled, community anchor institution, served and ineligible, but there's no providers listed.
Okay, so 5606, what was the
San Pablo Ave.
Yeah,
So while Clay is doing that, can we talk a little bit? So this goes back to, I think, what Phil was saying, and this is Amy. Can you hear me okay? You know what, I might need to change my microphone.
No, you're clear.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay. So what Phil was saying is if they're what the FCC is looking at, the broadband serviceable locations or BSLs that we have that we've mentioned are mass market services, and there is an assumption that other locations, that CAI locations, would take enterprise services, and so they are often, the way the FCC has created its list of BSLs, which some of which, CAIs could be a BSL or may not be included as a BSL. And it sounds like what we're looking at, and Clay will show us, it may not be listed, it may not be a BSL on the FCC list itself. And that is because the FCC is assuming that CAIs would take enterprise services. And so therefore, that's why there would not be a provider listed, because they're only collecting that data at that, what they're calling that mass market level. So it's really important that we understand whether or not that library has sufficient service. So it's great if you do provide information as part of the challenge process about what service is available. Does that make sense? I hope that made sense. I hope that explains a little bit why there might be a disconnect in how the data looks.
I definitely think it roots back to the FCC not designating it a broadband service location, which is just confusing to me because most of our libraries are BSLs, so I don't understand why a few of them aren't when they're all part of the same library branch system.
right?
But if you can just help me walk through,
has said that is the starting point for this data, unfortunately.
Right.
So all that work that California did does not, this is the starting point for the data.
Got it. Yeah. It's a huge data set.
It's a massive data set, and there are a lot of complexities to it. And so looking at this one, it's ineligible served. It is classified as community anchor institution, but there are no providers showing up. So this is inside the portal view. This is a little bit different from the public facing map that we looked at. So we have some enhanced functionality here. So what I did is went ahead and started the challenge process over here. And this is a test environment. But one of the useful things that you could possibly do in the tool as you're kind of investigating, if you go next door and look at providers, there are several. So likely that other location has AT&T or SonicNet. And so you could go in there, and then this would be is served, receives a gig symmetrical if it is in fact served. So that would take it, that could potentially add the provider here. But really, it's ineligible, it is served. If that classification is incorrect, then you would want to file a is not served and send that in. And so follow the workflow.
So, okay, if we can just pause there for a second, because I definitely want to say is not served. I've talked to our librarians, and there's a reluctance to offer service at some of the branches. But what do I need to submit? If I say it's not served, am I going to have to take like a speed test? Like, what am I going to have to do?
So, and also Patrick, just to let you know, City of Oakland is registered as a challenger. And I do not believe that we saw anything from Oakland Undivided. So in order to submit the challenge in the view that we're looking at right now, we would just need you to register. And then we will get you in here. You'll be able to submit challenges like Clay's going to show you in just a sec here.
Great. Yeah, I'm working with Louisa with the City of Oakland to try to navigate this process. Yeah.
You can have, I don't know if she has, but she can add you if you're going to be working together on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so once you click in, you click the is not served, it's going to take you down the list of what needs to be submitted. So that can be found in the challenge guide. It can also be found here in the portal. And so is there any internet service available at the location? So you'd want to see if something is available, but it's not at the gig by gig speed. So let's assume that it's not. Who's the current provider? None. What technology? So you can leave that blank because it's not required. And then current plan, if there is none, you don't put anything. And then upload of the current plan, you wouldn't put anything if there isn't anything. So then next, then it's going to ask you to define it. And so we're going to add this to the challenge. So there we go. And I'm going to confirm. There's a couple of different ways, but we had already selected this location, so I just went ahead and added it. You could also select a zone if you had done that earlier, or shift and click on the map. But so there I have my location. If you want to get the location ID for further investigation or mapping up with other maps, you can download there. And then finally go here. So please submit evidence to support your challenge. And let's see, upload evidence of recent bill, invoice, photo of the provider gateway, or other evidence to support the challenge. So if you don't have any of this, you'd want to submit maybe like an email from the service provider saying that they cannot, in fact, serve this location. Or, if you have like pictures of the comm room without any equipment, that as well as who you've requested. So that evidence is there. And then also the eligible challenger or CPUC might reach out and ask for additional evidence if it was not adequate. And so after you upload your evidence.
That's
Oh,
super.
sorry.
So would I need to upload evidence for every possible provider that could be serving there, proving that they don't? Like I would get into AT&T page, Sonic page, Comcast page, T-Mobile page for each location.
That's probably going to give you the strongest challenge. And Phil or Amy, I don't know if y'all want to weigh in there.
Clay and Patrick, I appreciate you putting this forward because obviously this is a great concern to you in the library. My suggestion would also be, currently today you do have internet of some form or shape, correct?
Yeah, the library branches have some service. I think it's
great. What I would suggest is the current provider that you use, whoever it may be, you can probably go to their website, put in your address. If you don't have the bill, that would be the next best thing you could do, and you will get a screenshot of that location. It'll either say we don't have service there, or we do have service, and it'll tell you what they're supposed to be providing as part of the service that's there. Take a screenshot of that, upload it with the evidence. As much as you can get is what I would suggest at this point.
Okay. Appreciate that guidance. I'll do my best. I'll reach out if I have any questions, and just want to uplift something that Natalie raised earlier, which is I think internet companies are getting smart to the fact that people are taking screenshots and they're introducing new steps now of you need to call us, you need to do this. So just something to have on your radar as you are accepting evidence. We're going to do our best and just recognize that like
whatever you can put is better than nothing at all. Absolutely, Patrick. Yeah, absolutely the best way to go.
I'm going to move us along to our next question, which is from, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, Dieter. Is it clear that the service availability, speed, and latency are factors in the challenge process? But if service quality, uptime is the issue with the provider and the community, will that be considered? If so, should residents use other, and what kind of proof would you be looking for? I'm going to ask Amir or Phil if they can address if the
That is a very good question indeed, because service uptime is not something that is typically captured. And I'm not sure how we would address that through the challenge portal. Because you could upload evidence, you could provide a screenshot when the service is out. I don't know whether you have any opportunity to get statistics from your current router that you use, when the service is available, when it's not available. I don't have a really good answer for that one. That's something we can certainly get back to you on. We'll do a little bit of research and figure out how best to answer that question for you. And we can post that in the Q&A.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, just trying to give some direction to, I had a call this morning with a person up in Olympic Valley that he's sophisticated enough to do ping tests and has a whole program running, and he shows 60% of the time he's up, 40% he's down. And this is happening for his entire community and has been a problem with this provider for many, many years. And when it works, it's fine. It's the stability and the quality of service is the issue. So that's where my head went, looking at the process as other, right, being, and then kind of stating the issue and then trying to provide evidence, right? And to me, in his case, what he's provided me is powerful, but he's now got to get his neighbors, his community to do something similar to really state that fact, right? So that's what I was just curious about. If that's at least the right direction, I think I can give him the guidance, and he can. It's a small HOA of 45 homes that we're talking about, so he should be able to get at least 6 or more folks in that community to provide that type of evidence.
Great. Dita, that's a great question. I'm going to say right now it's probably a fixed wireless provider. The other approach you can take, if it's not,
which is even worse.
It's even worse. I would go ahead and put in an availability challenge and just say service is not available, period. That will give us the opportunity, CPUC, the opportunity to review the information that you provide. And then we can either accept or reject the challenge based on the information you provide. If we accept it, then the provider is going to have to rebut it.
Okay. Fair enough. That's great. And appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And our next question is from Carrie. We are a nonprofit and a regional broadband consortium that supports 4 counties.
Jonathan, we had one right before that, actually, on both.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Short one.
Ilani, did you determine how bulk challenges can be submitted? Let me turn this over to Clay. Demonstrated, I believe.
Yes. So depending on the challenge type, we do allow for bulk challenges. And some of the functionality I just showed, one moment. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time finding the buttons today. Apologies, everyone. Okay. All right. Can everyone see my screen again?
Yep.
Okay. So what we would do is go and add a challenge. And let's say we were doing a planned or existing. Get this out of the way. So we're going to do, let's say, existing service. And you go in, you put in the information. So this is, you're offering 100 by 100, confirm, residential business. Okay, so this type of challenge does allow for bulk, and there's a couple of different ways that you can actually get this information into the portal. So you can select a zone. So if you had created a zone previously as you're looking, so go in here, and you've actually created a zone, which can be done in several different ways. But you can upload that way. You can also add each location one by one and add those to the challenge. That's a multi-address, so we'd actually have to tell which one. So we go in. Apologies, I got stuck. There we go. Got it. Confirm. Or you can shift and drag. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those two, or I'm going to keep them as part of it. So I have 57 in this bulk challenge. And then it's going to ask you to add your evidence based on this guidance. And so one thing to note, there are some restrictions on what the portal can handle as far as the upload size. So we do recommend that if you're over 100 megabits, you go ahead and zip it. And the total file that is allowable is 500. So that guidance is present for the uploads. And then here is a breakdown of the types of evidence that would be accepted for that challenge. So the portal will guide you towards whether or not a bulk challenge is uploaded, but that functionality is supported.
Thank you, Clay. Our next question is from Kari. It says, we are a nonprofit in a regional broadband consortium that supports 4 counties. Can we use the same email under each county's separate permissible challenger account to assist with consumer evidence review and challenge submission? Again, I think this might be a question for Clay.
Yes, you can. So with your account, and you've already pre-selected, I'm assuming the 4 counties that you are working with, what you can do is from that main account with those 4 selected counties, you can go in and add users to your account. Sorry, looks like you had a question.
Oh no, I'm listening.
Oh, yeah.
I'm listening.
Absolutely. So when you select those counties, those are the ones that are going to primarily show up on your map and be challengeable. And also, if you did opt in to select individual provided evidence, consumer provided evidence, that will come directly to your portal as well.
So my question was actually, we were going to just be added into each of those 4 counties. So we weren't going to register ourselves as a permissible challenger. We can. We were just going to assist each county, and I was wondering if we were going to have an issue using the same email if we did that, or should we just avoid that and sign up, I guess sign up as our own individual permissible challenger, but we're going to be partnering with these counties.
Yeah, I think it can be done either way. You can be added to their accounts, or you could create your own account and just select those 4 different counties.
So having the same email in 4 separate accounts won't create an issue.
No, that
Okay,
shouldn't.
great, thank you.
And that's actually to show that real quick with the same email. Let me share my screen. There we go. All right, I'm getting better at this. Making progress. Okay. So if you're added to multiple accounts, that's actually going to show up here in this top left. And when you click this drop down, it will show the different organizations that your account has been added to. So this would be the 1st county, 2nd county, 3rd, and 4th.
Perfect, thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you. Our next question is from Kevin Miller. Is cost a challengeable criteria? We have some locations that are deemed as served, but only by a WISP with quite high costs for bandwidth levels that would be deemed as served. And this is one of those moments where we have to say the NTIA does not consider cost to be a factor for a challenge or the great basis for a challenge. So the answer is no, it's not a challengeable criteria. Our next question is from Steve Bitkarger. Going back to CIAs, we have a police department that shows as served and listed as ineligible at their address. Literally next to that served dot, there is a dot that shows it as a CAI and eligible. Can you explain why it shows both ineligible and eligible? Could it be because it doesn't meet the symmetric up and down speed requirement for a CAI? I think to answer this question effectively, if you could provide the address in the chat, that will allow us to bring up the map and we can take a look. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just looking on the map. I may have been looking at an older version of the map before the new update. Now there's only the CAI dot. I do know that it is served because we do have internet at the police department right now, but it's this now shows as unserved and that it is correctly identified as a CAI. Would that be simply because it's, I mean, does it matter? I mean, does it have to have that symmetrical up and down 1 gigabit to qualify for funding?
It actually qualifies for funding if it does not have symmetrical service available at that location. Again, it's availability. It's not the service that's signed up for the location, but it's what's being offered at the location. So if the police department wanted symmetrical gigabit service, but it's not available from a provider, any of the providers in that area, then that location would become eligible for funding.
All right,
Does that help clarify it?
that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like, Carrie, you had another question, which is when will the marketing and community outreach toolkit be available? And Laura's put in links to it.
Yep.
Does that answer your question?
I was on that toolkit later and I'm looking at it now, but that didn't have, I was expecting language. That there would be, social media language. We can produce ourselves. It's not a big deal, but I thought that something specific to community outreach marketing for this event was going to be made available that we can, send out as a copy and paste from municipalities and other entities we work with.
I think the materials that we have available at this point in time are posted on
It's
the
done.
website.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Are there other questions that people have? I think according to my screen, we've reached the end of the questions in the chat, but I want to make sure I'm not missing any.
I tried to upload a PDF to the chat, but it's not letting me. So essentially I just went on to Comcast, AT&T, and Sonic's address lookup tool just to see what it would be like to follow the process and upload the data that you wanted. And there's a couple challenges I just want to name. So with Comcast, they say they offer business at 1.25 gigabits per second, but they're coax, so they don't say anything about upload speeds. So I'm essentially going to upload evidence saying they offer 1.25 gigabits, but that's only down, that's not up. And so it doesn't meet the symmetrical requirement, but it just feels weird that I'm submitting Comcast evidence at 1.25 gigs. And I'm hoping that absent any additional context, the people reviewing the challenge will know that. Is that?
You can always PDF a note to us.
Okay, so maybe a screenshot with like a short explanation of why that screenshot is relevant to the challenge.
And Phil, you guys are the ones who have experience with that, but
Yeah, you're actually, Patrick, that's very creative. That is the right way to go. Comcast is going to be coax. Put in the evidence there. It only shows the download speeds. We have to have symmetrical gig service for it to be considered served. And so we would take that and we would pass that challenge through. We'd recommend to CPUC that they go ahead and accept that challenge.
Super helpful. And then just one other, so then I went to AT&T and I typed in the address. They said, this looks like a business address. And now they're asking for a unit type and number. It's a library. There's no unit type. There's no wing. So I can't I tried just putting unit 1, but I'm just stuck at this screen now that is asking me to put in a unit type and number. So again, just like a screenshot of that and an explanation that it doesn't have
Absolutely.
unit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and challenge all those providers that are saying they serve your location, absolutely. They'll all have to basically rebut the evidence that's provided.
And then that's just maybe the last question is the rebuttal. Will we get to see what was submitted by the ISP as a rebuttal, or does that get all kind of litigated behind the scenes and we just get a result of our challenge?
All the rebuttals are posted when they've been at the end of the process. Yes, you will. It's completely transparent.
Thank you.
We have a follow-up question from Steve, and he has an address. So, Clay, if you're in a position to bring it up, we can take a look.
Yeah, so it looks like two different spots there. So
Share your screen so we can follow along.
Yet the address is listed as the same address.
right, right. And so it looks like on clicking into this a bit further, in fact, we could probably pull this out. Let's go next. And so I'm going to pull in both of these. Confirm. Okay, so it looks like this one is classified as both a BSL and a CAI. So this is some of that guidance that we mentioned earlier that it can contain special use cases such as this. So when we're looking at these, this one here is ineligible and served, and you can see we've got 1,200 by 35. We also have 100 by 20. So for a BSL, a broadband serviceable location, this is served. But when we go into the CAI detail, it does not have a 1,000 by 1,000. So the BSL is served, the CAI is not. Which I know sounds a little bit complicated and counterintuitive, but it's just the difference between a BSL classification and a CAI classification.
And Steve, there's a link to the updated guidance. You can just jump to page 45 on that. And that's where we put the additional information on this kind of stacked BSL versus CAI, like the stack locations that we're talking about.
Okay, 45?
Yeah, page 45 on the new guidance.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and there's lots of screenshots in there.
And I think we want to go back. Patrick asked a question earlier about whether the rebuttals were going to be made public or not. And I think Amy wants to provide a fuller explanation of what's going to be made public.
Sure. So I did want to thank you, Jonathan. I did want to provide a little bit of an explanation about what the transparency requirement is from NTIA, just so that you, when you see that, it won't cause any confusion. So after all of the rebuttals are in, and sometime before the state has posted the final results, the state will, California will post the CPUC will post all the submitted challenges and rebuttals. But really, what that is a listing of, the challenger, the type of challenge, a summary of the challenge, and a summary of the rebuttal. So not all of the evidence itself, but a summary of each. On its website for transparency purposes. So all of that information will be available prior to the final adjudication.
Is there a reason why the actual evidence itself isn't?
We're following the model challenge process requirements of the NTIA. So this is a determination that they've made.
They require that a summary is posted, not the actual evidence itself.
Yeah, it comes straight from the NTIA challenge process policy notice.
We've got time for 2 more questions if anyone else has a question. Okay, well, we are having these on a weekly basis, so and you can always email us at the BEAD@cpc.ca.gov, and we are, of course, receiving lots of questions, so we're hoping to get back to everyone within a couple of days. We're doing our best, and we also will be taking information during these office hours and adding them to our FAQ. So please check our FAQ for updates. That, I think we're ready to go to our wrap up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think and just as a reminder, the challenge process, the conversation's bringing up our slides. Challenge process continues to keep going. You can sign up for email updates regarding the challenge process in the BEAD program. There's a number of resources here. If you have technical questions about using the Ready's platform, and you're probably best to send them directly to Ready. If you have more policy questions and general questions, please send them to the BEAD email inbox. And this little presentation is posted at several different places on our website, so all these links are readily available. And we look forward to hearing from you. We have some events coming up. Our next office hours are going to be July 18th. And then we also have office hours during the rebuttal phase. The first one on August 15th. And then finally, from 1 to 2 on August 8th, we are going to be doing a rebuttal phase for broadband service providers, which will explain to them what their obligations are during the rebuttal phase in terms of submitting evidence and how to rebut challenges.
And you will notice a theme here. We tried to do it so that it was a time frame that you could block out if you needed to attend. So the series, these will be a series. If you go to the BEAD events page, you can actually sign up for all of the ones in the series at one time, but they're blocked out on Thursdays from 1 to 2. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for participating. It's really encouraging to see everyone engaging, and we appreciate the questions because it keeps us on our toes and make sure we understand what it is and understand the challenges better. So thank you very much.